And we're recording.
Excellent. And so, sometime I'm not keeping an exact chronology of when these events are happening because they're kind of happening about. And so, at some point, Hoden, you would be able to track Alstro down. Oh, that's not the right song.
That's not the
That's not the right song at all.
And thus we have a chase scene?
There we go. And so at some point, you're able to track in the chaos of the beginnings of rebuilding. You're able to track down Alstro.
I'm not very hard to find.
She's not.
My hair is no extra glowy.
Alstro, did you have a moment?
Oh, of course, Odin.
I kind of wanted to ask a small request of you while we, well, seemingly have our breath.
Of course.
I know at one point you wanted to sort of take a look at the lines around me. Back in Zodia, I'm kind of ever more nervous now than I was then, but could you take another look and see if anything's changed?
She nods.
I guess fantasy on case.
I also imagine is this before or after the loom?
Probably
thing?
after, for convenience sake. Give me just a second. I have to shut Fantasy Grounds off on the laptop real quick.
Yes, curiously enough, I managed to get a little bit more insight on, well, my case at least. I don't know how it would apply to yours, but...
Oh?
One way or another, these curses seem to be interwoven with one soul, for lack of a better term.
Like a source.
What'd you say?
Oh, sorry. I said like a source?
I frankly don't know where they come from. But she kind of just crosses her arms. Then again, what plagues me and my sister and our family is Fengrangi's magic, as it were.
Afraid that provides more questions than it answers. I've never been
Exactly.
It's not like, I don't know, tied to like magic itself or some like grandiose thing, is it?
She just gives you a look that says that she doesn't know.
Thought I'd ask.
She nods. We have a mystery on our hands, Odin.
Zoinks! It's... well... I don't know, more unnerving now than ever to know what it is, because, well... I guess I have things to live for.
That is good to hear.
True, not used to having real obligations, you know. Megan could always find some other stable boy to cut his wood and serve tables. But, being the first night of Zodia and all that... Yes, exactly. I gotta make sure there's no hidden surprises that's gonna catch us all off guard, you know.
Odin, life is full of hidden surprises that constantly catch you off guard. That isn't going to change, regardless of magical nonsense or not.
True, but, you know, the long-lost bastard child coming to court's a lot easier to deal with since coming to court.
Excuse you. All right, you probably don't know.
What?
She looked genuinely offended for a second, and then like, oh, never mind.
Oh. Begging your pardon. Sorry. Gotta learn to rein in my tongue a little bit if I'm gonna be at court.
I'm sure you'll do just fine.
Plus, there's many a good teacher. I've already started taking lessons from, Cecil and Cygnus and Misty and whoever else will talk to me. Paris had some weird ideas about women, but I don't know.
As that's what I hear. Anyway, is it safe to take a look at him now?
Yeah,
I'm trying to get onto Fantasy Grounds, but I cannot.
it's all good. Honestly, there's I just booted it up. But basically, what as you kind of close your eyes and as you reopen them, what you see is very much, again, similar to what you had seen before. But now with a bit more of a keen eye. As you're able to kind of tell the difference between the as you're able to kind of be a little bit more observant about the differences, having more experience and wisdom to draw on whether or not it's directly applicable. One thing that you do notice is that the ones that affect you, the ones that are following you, do seem to be the ones that follow you and your family seem to be more interested in the world around you, if you will, while the ones that are around Hoden seem to be less far spread out around him. So, like, if there was like an aura of operation where these things kind of work, yours spread out much further than his. And if you were to count them, his are a lot less, but they're more concentrated around him specifically.
Mm-hmm. And Connor told me about the fact that, like, the curse, at least in Elstra's sense, is woven into.
Yeah, effectively it's a part of your lore, and to remove it would be, well, as difficult as you would expect. By using the loom, you could remove it much easier, but doing so means that you instead would have to stitch it into your own tapestry, if you will.
But does Hoden have something similar?
Yeah,
or would I need the
it would be like judging from what you've seen, you can probably surmise that it would work on a similar fashion. But at the same time, as you kind of take a closer look at both of these things, both of them are of a similar sort of passive kind of existence. Like none of them are actively killing either of you, as you of course witnessed. It's very much just, it's kind of a signature that alters things that happen in some way.
Now, Hoden, this is a question that might come out of left field.
All right.
Are you planning on having children?
And he turns very scarlet very fast.
I only ask because, at least in my case, it seems to transfer that way. So something to keep in mind.
To the offspring?
She nods. I got this curse from, well, my grandmother had it and she passed it on to my mother. And then to Piper and myself.
Is it... Hoden kind of searches for the word. Dangerous.
She scratches her chin. Hard to say.
It's funny to think if I... Go ahead.
I know in my case, or in Alstro's case, it attracts misfortune.
Yes.
And in mine case, though I don't know if it's the same for yours, well, it's mainly been known, from what I hear, mainly been known to manifest if us, she points to herself, is killed, has anything to do with that death, is also killed or suffered horrible misfortune.
Though judging from what you've seen, it almost seems to be, yes, people who killed your grandmother were affected, but also anybody with their families are also influenced in some way.
Yeah. But also they see slight differences between your curse and mine, so it might not have. That said, provided I do know that Cecil is going to Fengrungu, right?
Yeah. Eventually, yeah.
Cecil does make it to Fengrungu, that if this is their magic, it might not hurt to act. Though, given their personality, I imagine they would be less than.
We'll have to consider that then.
That said, if you ever need me, ask. I can be around in short notice.
I appreciate that. You've been more than fair in this particular subject that I know nothing of.
You know just as much about it as I do, as I told you everything I know.
Huh. I hadn't looked at it that way.
She just laughs.
I'll consider it and converse with Cecil and see if perhaps an excursion is going to be made across the sea, if I may escort her, like she needs escorting. But I guess if it doesn't seem like it's that much of a immediate danger, then I guess there's no need for alarm.
And if I learn anything additional about my curse, I'll be sure to let you know, either through writing or otherwise. Though, if my plans work out, I should be traveling often.
Your plans?
Inter-country relationships aren't going to build themselves.
Yeah. We're going to have our own hands full with the beast tribes back at home. Can't imagine what it's like between the human nations.
Well, I'm sure you have much to see too, Hodin. But once you're back in Zodia, if you do need me for anything related to that, just let Misty know. She winks.
Will do. Thank you for your time, Alstro.
Much obliged.
And yeah. See the else. And yeah, so with that you depart, and the two of you head off onto other duties that call you. Since we have Alster at the moment, and you do have a couple of things on the docket, let's go ahead and get another one of yours done. Which one do you want to do? The one with Malcolm or the other one?
Probably Malcolm.
All right, fair enough.
Because the last one isn't too pressing.
Yeah, that's fair.
Like, I can even wait till Monday.
Let me find.
I imagine I've already had that discussion with Aaron on
Yeah.
strategy for that.
Most likely, yeah. and anybody who you would want here present for this conversation would likely be able to be there.
I should actually probably wait till Brent is there. Brent is here then,
That's fair. Yeah, we can wait on that.
so I can do the other meeting.
That is well. We can always just wait on that as well.
Yeah.
So, because we have plenty of other things on the docket. So, Kat, do you want to do that thing with Ophelia? Because you wanted to check in on her, yeah.
Yep, sure thing.
And so amidst all of the hectic nature of rebuilding and such, Steph was like, "Huh, I'm gonna go ahead and do something because you're both here, so I could just hear it without my headset." That was really funny. So you'll be able to heading over towards the makeshift hospital area that's been quickly rebuilt after the attacks, to help and make sure that that the injured and wounded will be safe and have places to recover. In the aftermath of what happened, Misty, you make your way through the somber halls of this kind of, or rather, not even halls. It's probably just tents, honestly. And after checking in on Ven and Lisa and making sure that they're all right again, you turn your attention towards Ophelia, who was in critical condition, though she has from some of the healing that she was able to receive. But you know that she took a pretty harsh blow, as you remember.
And is she awake?
You've heard that she has been awoke. She has been up at least once since.
Right, so I'm gonna go ahead and mosey over there then.
And as you enter into the tent that she's currently staying in, you find her awake. She's eating just some like simple, very thin stew, and she has a lot of bandages around her midsection, and is effectively wearing not but her bandaged abdomen and chest, as she took some pretty critical injuries, but she looks up from the cot as you enter, and she nods in your direction. Fatigue evident, her skin even more pale than it usually is.
Looking better already, love.
I suppose anything is better than a bloody mess on a ship or on a dock. Yes.
If you want to set a low bar, I suppose.
And she takes one more bite and kind of forces it down before setting it on the makeshift table nearby. And I'm told I have you to thank for my life.
It was something comrades do. You don't just let your allies fall. Especially not after what you did.
It was a fool's errand. I never should have dropped my guard like that. She was an enemy. It was foolish of me to think that words could have solved that. I put the entire mission at jeopardy and all of your lives at risk.
And ultimately turn the tides. Bennett gave the order after you fell.
So I've been told. From what I understand, she's actually part of the reason that I've made such a hasty recovery. Yet another person that I owe an apology. And thanks to.
I don't
And-
think you need to apologize, love. As a matter of fact, I think you showed what the new Legal is meant to be. What a bit to say that.
Perhaps you're right. And yet, even though the war is over, I still wonder what everyone else will have to sacrifice. What everyone will have to sacrifice to rebuild. Will the war ever really be over? I guess that remains to be seen.
Fortunately, I don't think anyone can rightly predict the future, though a lot of try.
Yes, from what I understand, some of you Zodians do more than others.
A lot of it's guesswork that gets lucky.
Perhaps it is. Regardless, the only thing that I know is that the battle is over, and I'm alive, where I shouldn't, by all rights. So regardless of whether you think I need to or not, thank you once again. I owe you my life, and I won't soon forget that.
I hope not, because I don't forget your love. And she's gonna be extending her hand.
She'll offer a take it. I just hope that I can put back pieces of the life that you saved.
I texted your brother. I'll be helping you with that.
Her smile gets a bit more tight-lipped. Perhaps not. I spoke with him before the battle. We talked at length. He told me of the things. He told me of a woman that he met, one that I believe he intends to return to. I'm thankful for his happiness. But I believe I'll be rebuilding here alone.
I don't think you're quite as alone as you think you are.
I suppose not. After all, I still have my parents to attend.
Your parents and everyone else you fought beside. We're not all going back.
You misunderstand me. My parents did not fight alongside of us. Nor did they fight alongside of the Loyalists. I don't know what's going to happen with the Dark Flyers after this. But regardless of what happens, I'm going to make sure that they're brought to justice first. I have no doubt that they were responsible for many of the atrocities that occurred during this war. It's as implicit as any other villain. So you're right, I'm not alone. Not yet.
You're an admirable woman, Ophelia. Always remember that.
It was an honor to serve alongside of you, Mistral. And I do hope this won't be the last time that you visit before you and yours leave.
Of course not. And probably not after I leave either.
Good. Connor seemed to have found a staunch ally when he stumbled upon you almost 2 years ago now, from what I understand.
Fate's a funny thing.
So it is. So it is. I suppose I should get some more rest. I would not want the priestesses to get upset with me again for trying to overexert myself, as they said.
And there's little out worse than an angry priestess, from what I hear.
Yes. Not much is true. Not much is very true. Now, if only this hole in my gut could repair itself more rapidly. I'm going to go stir crazy if I have to stay in this bed any longer.
Cover soon. Perhaps we can go for another fly before I leave, right?
That would be good. Thank you.
And Missy's gonna smile and leave her to her rest.
And she'll settle back in and yeah. Ophelia. Poor thing. And it was plain to see that there was a great deal of anguish and fatigue just floating about that room.
I mean, she did get run through by her lover,
Yeah.
who is kind of comatose almost in her cell right now.
I mean, some of you guys could go visit her later too. Her, Leon, Julia, and Habutai are all people who are currently being held along with any other prisoners of war until sentences can be officially.
I informed her previously that Ophelia was okay, and she did not respond, and I left it at that.
Yeah. She didn't give a shit. And, yeah. Delphine.
Yes.
Fine, Fred Boat.
It just wants to continue playing that forever.
Yes. Delphine.
Yeah.
As
I need to invite Fredboat again.
I should. God. Why?
It doesn't want teen drama.
Guess not. And so as the rebuilding efforts probably have taken many of you back and forth over the course of these last couple of days, which will turn into weeks and months. And I imagine the roads around Dowhurst have exploded into activity as all of the refugees who have taken asylum there slowly begin gathering up all of their things and heading back home. And so as Delphine, as you and the others have traveled back and forth between Arcanon and Dowhurst and anywhere else that you guys have business, as you look about, you see families reunited that had to separate because of safety, or perhaps because of differing of opinions. Because a father sided with Millicent, and the mother chose to work with Connor. And so you, even on the road, you'll find caravans of people parked on camped on the side of the road, peddling their wares, reuniting with old friends, rejoicing over the survival of their family, and mourning the lives that were lost. As soldiers that were press ganged into service cast aside their banners, their helmets, and embrace their brothers and sisters that they may have that they had to take arms up against. And through all of the uncertainty, through all of the dangers that you've all faced, there's something comforting in seeing the people beginning to move on from the war. Slowly, of course. And the scars will take a long time to heal as you pass memorials to the fallen on your travels. There's still something good about all of it. And so, Delphine, as you're taking care of a couple of things in Dalhurst for one reason or another, returning to help comfort Sylvia and the others who had lost Delia. You hear a familiar voice clear his throat as you're walking through the streets near the dock. The smell of salt in the air as the warm almost beautiful summer day as the sea wind kisses your cheek.
It's Captain Ellie, isn't it?
It is. And as you turn, you see Varro with a smile. A few extra cuts and a few bandages still evident out of the side of like his chest from underneath his jacket. And he smiles as you turn to face him.
There is no turning. There is turning and running to like
if it is
jump and hug.
catches you as you give him a hug.
Captain Ellie!
It's good to see you're still in one piece too, little lady.
Well, why wouldn't I be?
Oh, I don't know. Perhaps because you were off saving the day, plumbing the winds, and fighting evil goddess witches from what
I mean, I guess, but you also were saving the day and fighting things, and I'm really sorry about your ship. I heard.
He gets a somber look on his face. He looks out at the other ships at both moored and at sea, and he takes a deep breath and sighs. And the old dragon queen served me a great many years, Delphi. It's only fitting that she served me in the best way that she could.
Well,
Would you believe that I've already worked on commissioning myself a new vessel. Ain't gonna be able to do much of anything if this old sea dog is forced to be a landlubber.
if you weren't already trying to get a new ship, I would be surprised, actually, because, well, that's where your heart is. Isn't it?
He, still smiling off into the distance, he says, "Aye, lass, it's one of a few places where me."
I know of another place.
And she points to her chest, like where her heart would be.
And he smiles and he musses up your hair and he said, "You took the words right out of me mouth, lass."
I'm not going to point to Misty. That's too soon.
And he smiles and so, lass, now that you're a free woman and you're able to walk about your proud nation and be recognized like a right proper little princess, what are you planning on doing now?
You know, I'm not too sure. To be honest, I've had some offers to go places, and I just kind of want to know what needs to be done. Though I feel here Connor and Elstro might have most of that covered, and they might not actually need me.
And she kind of pouts.
What are you going on about, lass?
Well, I mean, yeah, I helped in the battle.
And she kind of like she has to shake her head for a second to kind of shake off the memories that are still kind of trying to flood back every time she thinks about it.
I helped then, but I don't know. I'm not much of a diplomat, so I don't know how much help I would be in all of this.
She just kind of motions to everything.
And he gets a distant look on his face, and what say we put this conversation on hold just for 1 sec?
Okay.
And a talk this serious needs a little something to keep it to keep it nice and lively, Abby. And with a smile, he gestures out towards some of the stalls nearby, that have already begun selling some of their wares and such, and as he walks about, you hear them shouting out their wares, and one of them, fresh pressed apple cider, straight from the farms in Brimrad. None fresher, ice cold. And he smiles and says, "It'd be a nice warm day. What say we get something to cool ourselves off for a moment?"
Okay.
And he smiles, and taking your arm in his, he leads you over, and he buys the two of you big tall glasses of cider, and as you take a swig, it is fresh and crisp and delicious, and I really want apple cider right now.
Same, thanks.
As you guys grab it and find some crates near the docks, overlooking the sea, as you hear the seagulls flying overhead, and you both hop up on them and take a sip. He actually reaches into his coat and withdraws a small flask, and he pops the top, and he taps a couple of drops into the cider, and he gives you a wink.
Should he be doing that?
Oh, I don't know. I suppose it is rather improper of me to be drinking alone, eh? And he offers you a couple of drops to put in your own if you want.
Why not?
And so he'll drop a couple of drops to keep it nice and fresh. No, don't be running off and telling Misty this, eh? I'd never hear the end of it.
Delphine winks.
I just don't know what you're talking about. We're having delicious apple cider. Mhm.
That's a good lass. You see, out in Okeanos, there'd be a certain tradition that folk do.
Oh?
Aye. We talk ourselves back and forth about a plan, and about their argument. You do it once sober, and you do it once after having a couple of drinks. And if it still makes sense after that, then we reckon it'd be a good plan.
Oh.
We're gonna do that on a bit of a smaller scale today, why don't we?
Okay.
And he, with a smile, he leans back and he takes a sip, and nothing be quite so refreshing as cider out from the vineyards nearby.
I've always loved apple cider, though I've never had any that's been altered.
There'll be a first thing for everything. Now, where were we? Aye, right. We were just talking about that ridiculous thing that you had said not long before.
How is it
Delphine.
ridiculous?
Because, Delphine, ye be 14 years old. Ain't no one else gonna be asking you to change the world. Not overnight. If you really think that your brother your brother and your sisters be truly thinking that everything that your responsibilities here, that your presence here, is to help rebuild the nation, I have a feeling you'd be sorely mistaken. You see, Delphine, what do you think they were all fighting for this whole time?
I know. I know. But that doesn't mean I don't want to help, and
Hey, and lass,
She shakes uncomfortably.
there'll be plenty of time for you to help. Do you know what I was doing when I was your age? I was swabbing decks, and I was looking out for things that looked a bit too dangerous for the cap. Right bastard he was.
but I have no decks to swab, and I have no captain to look out for.
Don't ye?
Do I? Wait a second. Are you saying what I think you're saying?
Well, I suppose that depends on what you think I be saying.
Are you telling me I should come with you?
No, lass, that ain't to say.
Oh,
As much fun as it would be to have you on the high seas, I dare say you've got enough choices ahead of you outside of that for certain.
too many choices?
Delphine, be a captain.
Or Okeanos. A couple weeks, I should just fuck off to Okeanos. It's fine.
I mean, I guess when you put it down to its simplest terms, a captain would be a leader that people look up to, and they're supposed to respect, though sometimes they don't always treat their captain with respect, which is bad.
True words ain't never been spoken. But that's one thing that a captain be, aye. What else is a captain?
A person?
Aye. That's damn important. But at the end of the day, Delphine, captain is just another member of the crew. And the crew, well, a crew is just a big fancy term that we sea dogs like to say to make us sound a little bit hard. At the end of the day, a crew just be one big family. Albeit one that you get to pick. I dare say you've got plenty of crew and plenty of captains. So what I want you to do, little miss, is I want you to stop thinking about how you might be more useful. And start thinking where you want to live. This is your life, Delphine. And you've just gotten something dropped into your hand that I took for myself. Oh, far too long ago when I ran away from my home up north, if you could even call it a home. You've got what we like to call freedom, Delphine. You can do whatever you want. You can be whoever you want. And you can surround yourself with whomever you want. And what you choose shouldn't be about who you might be able to help more, lass. It should be about what makes you happy. Where makes you happier to be. You've got family across this damned rock. No matter where you lay your head, you're gonna have a folk that care about you. So now, you get to pick where you want to plant your roots. Here, with the family that you never really truly got to know for so many years. Family that now you've got the opportunity to do. To love. And if I hate to be presumptuous, but I reckon in a few years, little nieces and nephews. If my observations about Davian and little Miss Piper are to be understood.
Yes! They're so cute!
Now, you've got that, of course, and I'm privy to the offer that Mistral gave you so long ago. Zodia is a good place, and her family is... They're good people. That would be a right fine family to choose. And sometimes the family you choose can be some of the best ones you ever could have. And of course, I suppose there is always the option that you go with old Captain Varro and become a dread pirate of the seven seas. Or however many. Or however many seas.
You know I would be the best dread pirate you could ever want.
She kind of grins.
I ain't got no doubt in my mind about that. But Delphine, whatever you choose, do it for the right reasons. Ain't no one gonna be upset with you when they make their decision. Sure, folk might be sad. They might be hurt for a little bit, but ultimately they love you. And that ain't gonna change just because you're exercising your freedom.
Well, I mean, it could. It could change. I've already kind of made it change.
If you want, you could always up and change your mind at any point anyways. It's your life. You do what you want with it, Delph. Ain't no tower to keep you locked up in. The world be your tower now, little miss.
The world is my tower. That just sounds very strange. I guess I've been happiest when I've been making other people happy. So, I don't know. And I've made some people sad recently, and I don't know, it's...
Well, Delphine, ain't nothing you do is ever gonna make everyone happy.
So, why not? I
because
don't like it.
humans and Lagoos and Togwell, everything else weird that we've found in this world. We all share one thing common, Delphine. Folk are right stubborn. And if folk don't get their way, they start pouting. But there's only one thing you can do. You can keep pouting. Or you can move on. That's what I've done. Ain't no sense looking into the past when that ain't gonna do nothing for you.
So, I shouldn't keep dwelling on the past, but it's okay to learn from it?
Oh, it's very okay to learn.
Okay.
Only a fool doesn't remember the past. You just don't want to dwell on it too much.
Oh, okay. I'm just making sure that what I was taught and what I'm thinking are not completely wrong, because that would be bad.
Oh no, and I don't pretend to have all of the answers either, still.
I don't know, you sure have a lot.
That's just because I'm old.
You're not old!
You can keep telling yourself that, lass. But I've got a couple of things that I'll need to take care of before this old body. And so I suppose another thing I wanted to talk to you about, Delphine, is that regardless of where you be going, I ain't never gonna be far. But I do have a couple of things that I'll need to take care of. A few calls to put in a row.
Well,
It
didn't
won't.
you just tell me to do what makes me happy?
I
Then shouldn't you be taking your own advice?
suppose you're right about that. Well, there ain't no sense in dwelling on me having to leave you anytime soon. But it'll still be at least the better part of a month till my ship is fixed, and we got plenty of time to make sure that we have plenty of good memories before that, eh?
Mm-hmm. With lots of apple cider dates.
And he winks, and he'll your glass of apple cider and drain the rest of his. So what say we change the touch into something a bit more fun than and less serious for the time being.
I need to be having more fun, apparently.
Aye, and I reckon you might have found yourself a little lad to help do that, eh? And he gets a devious smile.
What are you talking about? Scratches back of head.
I
What?
don't know, but you see, this old dog has quite a few friends, you see. Friends tend to talk, spread rumors about certain things. Not to mention, he ain't exactly the most subtle thing. Your face
Perhaps I
turns
should
red as
learn-
your face be turning red as a cherry the moment he comes walking by.
Is there any way to learn how to be more subtle?
Oh, there be plenty of ways, but I don't think you should be worried about that, lass. I think you're fine just the way you are. There's something genuine to a little lass that what can't hide her feelings. And he pinches your cheek.
So how'd you find out?
Perhaps that should be a little secret of mine. Just
Did you find out because I heard somebody else in the process, or did you find out because somebody told you?
and he just smiles and he stands up and he says, what say we take a bit of a wager?
A wager?
As it turns out, not much of me old ship were able to be recovered from the wreckage, but there was one thing that we were able to find.
Oh.
And as you guys kind of wander up and down the decks, you look forward, and as you look down the decks, you see some of his crew members tossing small beanbags back and forth, and somehow his old what did they call it? What was the pirate version?
One of the terms was doghouse because you send them to the doghouse.
Yeah, the doghouse, aka cornhole boards, from Varro's ship, albeit a bit waterlogged, have been set up on the side of the beach, and some of the lads are tossing the bags back and forth. How about I tell you if you succeed, or if you're able to beat me?
Well, I remember you teaching me, so there's only so much I can do.
Let's see how ye improved your aim, little lass. And as you guys head forward, you guys will play a game of cornhole to determine all of that. Yeah, and obviously it was fucking Misty. Like, but yeah, so yeah.
So, the question is, who wins?
Probably you.
Yes! So he tells me, and now I know
Yes,
it's
and
Misty.
It was definitely Misty.
Just as I thought.
All right. And so do any of Do any of you guys want to talk to any of the prisoners? This is a good time to do any of that if we would like. If not, it's fine. But I figured I would open up the floor if anybody would like to. I feel like Connor might when he returns, but yeah. If not, I know where we go next. So, and we could always wait on that too. So,
I mean, eventually I want to talk to Habitai, but I don't know. Like,
Oh,
it
if-
would probably more
yeah.
be after the sentence
that's fair.
of whatever the fuck they're trying to do with that.
Generally, Anna, if anybody wanted to talk to the prisoner, I opened the floor if anybody wanted to volunteer to do so, because they're there. They're not going anywhere. So. Yeah, you already talked to the one that you were interested in speaking to.
I don't need to talk to any
Still
prisoner.
and putting in a good word for Leon.
Yes, and by the way, Aaron has a plan as far as that's concerned too. So there's a chance that she'll probably between the two of you, you'll probably be able to get him a chance to make it right. Hopefully.
Oh man, time to attach myself to another mentor figure.
Hopefully nothing happens to this one. We don't need any more death.
No,
Ever.
it's the parental figures that have been
It is all the
screwed.
parental.
I mean,
The
but
mentor
parental
figures have
figures.
been fined.
Parental figures can also be mentor figures.
Because I imagine a lot of people have probably already been like, "Hey, Aaron, help us make all of these important decisions," and she's like, "I kind of want to step away from this," but people keep asking her, and she's bad at saying.
I mean,
people
you're
need her
still
help,
she's still in a magisterial position, and
I
she's also
know.
really good at making decisions when she's actually listened to.
I know,
Like, maybe not as a magister, but like as an advisor.
but it's true. It's true.
Like, so, but now we need we need to have some semblance of structure. So like, ride this out, and there's going to be an end to it. We promise. Well, I mean, you can't trust any of my promises, but you know.
I promise you, for whatever that
He's
means.
not wrong.
No, that's
I'll be
probably
right
that
back.
conversation actually happened.
You know? Have you broken any of your
for
promises to
themselves.
Delphine?
Remember that promise that Elstro made her before we went to the final battle?
Which promise was that?
About she finding out something about Delphine and promising not to say anything?
Which thing?
The whole self-sacrificing thing.
Oh yeah, that.
Yeah, no, if it became a problem, Elster was totally going to sell you out.
But luckily, it didn't.
No, if you were going to risk your life, Elster would have totally, like, and said, just like, and in either in a serious moment or otherwise, would have said, "You should have learned by now not to trust any of my promises, Delphine."
But see, we didn't get there.
Hooray!
So technically, you've kept all of your promises to Delphine.
Hey, that's
Technically.
dumb luck.
Yes, it is, but I still have hope for you.
And
I mean,
so,
I'm getting better.
and so, as a few days after the events of everything that happened, one of the solemn things that needed to be done, of course, is the last rites for those that passed. Because, of course, before families can rejoice of being reunited, there, of course, is the grief and sorrow that comes with burying the dead. Among them, friends and foes. Gods. And though the crowds differ, The words remain the same. Words of comfort. Words of love. And words of hope. Surrounded by soldiers. Positioned on a pyre. Swords planted in the ground around it. Lies the body of Colonel Orville. And the priest who walks slowly around the pyre, stopping after each sentence and lowering a torch lit with burning flames into the kindling at each step. Though his words differ, or though his voice differs, his timbre differs, the words are the same. In a small, quiet ceremony, the bodies of Millicent, of Edward, of Alexis, and many of the others, that chose the wrong side, that stood against peace, that waged war. Simple pyres. No ceremony. Only shame, but respect. A small crowd. Distant family. Close friends, close family. The high towers that remain. Those that bury their shame and their legacy. Who burn it to ashes. Julius, watching with a stoic face, unmoving. Westlin, Rinzu, Ninon. Jenna. Her stare empty as she looks into the flames. A staunch polarization between these different ceremonies. One for soldiers that gave their life, other for villains that almost destroyed everything. And yet, still, the words remain the same. O Mother of Flames, take your children upon your bosom. O Mother of Flames, guide your children. For none among them were without sin. O Mother of Flames, speak to your children. For it is only your voice that can grant them salvation. O Mother of Flames. Burn their deeds to ash, so that greatness and darkness may intermingle, that good and evil may become as one, so that they may be judged before the wisdom of your omniscient counsel. May their deeds be weighed, and their soul be judged. Should they be found wanting, may they know penance, that one day their punishment may end, that they may be welcomed into your realm with open arms as children forgiven. And may they be, and if they are judged as virtuous, may they join those who have gone before in their eternal vigil, in carrying the flame that drives all of us forward, guiding the path onto a new tomorrow, one of love, one of warmth, one of justice. In your name we pray. And as the priests of each of these respective pyres performs their duties, Carter, at his own ceremony, performing the self-same rites for the man that he once saw as a god, for the god that was once a man. It's the body of Arlen in a small, peaceful ceremony in the wilderness not far from the first chapel. The land that was once his home, the land that he once lived in, loved in, the land where he and his brother had made promises and broken promises. Those that are here know the story, know of the truth, and know of what happened. And one last small ceremony. Though perhaps not as small as it could have been, had she not touched so many lives. Delia lay upon her pyre. Looking serene, at peace, a smile on her porcelain face. As Grace, tears in her voice, finishes the ceremony. And with the torch of ever-burning flame in her hand, O Mother of Flames, please love your children. And watch over your child until we may be reunited once more. And in each of these ceremonies, the priest or priestess turns to the crowd and tells them now is the time to say their last wishes. And as is custom, every person that goes up to these pyres carries with them a small piece of parchment. Upon it written their hopes, their dreams, a thank you, a memory, something that you wish to send with the deceased. Some of the soldiers making their way up to Colonel Orville, big old rosters, maps, letters, and each one says something on fire. General Shieldheart, too, with help from his daughter, ambles his way up, slowly, carefully, with a sad smile, offers final farewell to his friend. Thaddeus, not far behind. As an unclenched fist offers his last love to the pyre of his father. Though it's a different ceremony, that of Millicent, Edward, and all the others. Their lines will not be as large, their words will be no less kind. And if any players would like to say anything to anyone at these, specifically the ones with Millicent, Edward, and the others, and with the one with Colonel Orville, now is the time to do it. And if you would like to write what anything that you offer says, please feel free to do so. Westland would have something small. Unfolding a small piece of paper, he would approach the grave of, or the pyre of his father. And without saying a word solemnly, he would place it in the fire. The tendrils accepting the parchment and casting it into ashes. You see Richard, a uncharacteristically solemn face, approach the pyre of Edward and sing a few words to himself. He uncorks his flask, takes a swig, pours a small portion onto the pyre of his friend's grave. Countless members of the Hightower family offered their own words towards the patriarch of the family, towards one of the matriarchs. And a similar procession occurs at the funeral of Arlen. It's strange, burying a god. And yet as some of the most high-ranking bishops and archbishops surround the pyre, breathing life into this small, quiet corner of the forest, each and every one of them has something to say. A thanks for watching over them, for giving them his everything, even if they didn't know it was happening, even if they never knew. And of course, as Grace turns away from the pyre of her daughter, through a choking voice, she informs everyone else that that time has come, and she steps back. Carter and his wife comfort her, take her into their arms as she begins to cry and wail, the sound of a mother who has to bury her daughter. And likewise, if you would wish to do the same for these, you can. And if there's anything that you want to say, Sylvia and John approach the pyre. Jolene holding on to John's pink. And with red eyes, they each cast their own papers into the pyre. Sylvia gripping onto her husband's hand. John just shakes his head. And Sylvia says between choked back sobs, "I'll miss you, Delia. I'll miss you so much." Jolene, with a small piece of paper in her hand. "I'm still learning how to write." But I made one. Thanks, Aunt Delia. I'll see you soon. And she drops the paper into the pyre. The messy scrawlings turning to ash. And as Jolene begins to cry, there's a twinkle. Coming from one of the teardrops that falls. And it sparkles in a strange way. One that you've not actually seen before. And as the tears begin to continue falling, she as she sobs, as this young child begins to sob, as her father wraps her hand around her and picks her up. There's a soft glow coming from her. And those of you who are onlooking can tell that it's the touch of magic. Light magic, to be specific. Small things. As the shadows flicker and glitter with it. And as Sylvia sees this, she buries her face into her daughter and begins to sob. And just repeats Delia. Delia. And Richter goes up. Shortly after. His hair pulled back. His eyes exhausted. I'm so sorry. My love, I'm so sorry. I don't know what I'm going to do without you. Please. Please be at peace. You deserve it more than anyone. And he puts his own paper into the parchment into the fire. Carter and his family approach, each one placing something into the fire, even the young girls. I'll remember what you always said, sister. I promise no one will ever have to lose their sibling like this again. I love you, Delia. I always did. And he closes his eyes and bows at wrapping his arm around his wife. As they step back, his other hand reaching out, holding on to his eldest child, and each of them holding on to each other's hands. And Grace walks up, and she kneels down before the pyre. If I could trade places with you right now, my sweet, I would. I'm so sorry. You deserved a much better mother than I was. Please watch over Gideon for me. Please. And she sobs once again. And releasing her hand from the parchment, it floats up and into the fire. After a while, Carter comes and helps his mother up. And she returns back to the crowd. And she embraces her old friend Ashley. Cries. Not knowing exactly who she was, but knowing how important she was to everyone. If there's anything that any of you would like to say. As you cast your own last memories, last thanks into the fire. Now is the time.
Davian walks forward and with in his hand is a letter and a bouquet of flowers. A lily, a rose, and a camellia. And as he looks at her, he couldn't help but laugh at that. You know, Mom, you never could decide which was your favorite. This is the last thing I wanted. But you did what you had to do. Just like any one of us would have done the same thing as you have. I'll watch over her father for you. I will make a future that you could have lived in. And with that, he throws the bouquet of flowers and his letter into the fire.
Would anybody else like to say anything beyond the letters that they share with Delia? And Dave, and as you step back, Piper grips onto your hand tightly as she sniffles and offers her own final wish. As she grips your hand, she wraps her arm around you, and sniffling, the two of you return back to the crowd. And everyone watches in solemn silence as the fires and each of the pyres burns down, slowly but surely. As time passes, crowds begin to thin. As friends bow their heads, offer one more prayer, and leave, allowing the family time of quiet peace. And the time stretches on, simultaneously seeming like a moment and 1,000 years. Finally, pyres burn down to ash. The ashes are collected. In some cases, scattered to the wind. In others, encased in urns and interred in the ground. With friends. With family. And though each of their lives were different, some lived with virtuous lives, others less so. None were without any sin. None were without mistakes. Though the lives differed, their words, the words were the same. May the Mother of Flames watch over her children until we may join them one day. We're going to go ahead and take a break, and we'll get back to it at 9:30. Go ahead and use the restroom. Grab a tissue if you need it. Rinzu.
Yes.
As probably shortly after the funerals, as things are kind of as kind of the emotional event that was, you of course did note that No Name was not a part of that.
Yeah.
And you know that as from your knowledge, as you ask around, you would learn that Sarah had actually had No Name's body moved to Dalhurst.
All right.
And so, if you wanted to speak to him, you would know where you would know where to find him. It wouldn't be too hard.
Yeah.
And so at some point, a brief travel there, and you'd be able to find on the docks, talking to somebody that you don't recognize, a dock worker from the look of it. And he looks over in your direction. He nods, and the dock worker walks away, and he turns towards you. Rinsu, how are you feeling?
Could be a lot better.
Yes, I imagine that would be the case. Sorry about everything, but I'm glad that everything is all right at the end of it. I'm
So
glad that you were able to get some of your memories back.
Yeah, I really didn't think that I would ever get them back.
I guess it's all over then. Glad you made it out safely.
I told you we would.
I guess you're right, weren't you? So, what brings you here?
Her tears are gonna fold. I that you arranged for No Name to be taken.
He nods. Yeah. Um, some of the people who are helping are going to be returning to the Valley of Prosperity. I'm going with them. They'll be taking the corpse of whoever that woman was with them, as well as the loom. And that strange man and the Shadowcast woman with him. But we should be finding the way back. From what I understand, there's a merchant vessel in Okeanos right now. They're trying to get a hold so that they can make a quick stop off here before they head back home. I didn't actually think I would ever see the valley again. It's strange to think of, but here we are.
She's gonna take a deep breath.
Don't worry about the remains. I was able to preserve them. The strange ones scarred in black had a strange incantation or something that was able to preserve him, and it should last for the duration of the voyage. If that was what you were worried about.
No, it's not that.
He was. It makes you wonder. I didn't know much about him. But at the end of the day, I suppose he was rather responsible for helping us bring Liao down. I guess it was rather unfair of me to mistrust him so much earlier. He shrugs. Oh well. Figure the least he can get, or the least he deserves back in his home. Or where I assume was his home.
She
Yep.
thinks for a minute, like
I mean,
for
if you
like
go
a
far
minute.
enough.
I'm coming with you.
He raises an eyebrow. Oh? Don't you... He kind of just quirks his head to the side. Don't you have things to take care of here?
I want to take him home.
He shrugs. Well, I'm not going to stop you. I don't think one more passenger would be too unreasonable. Though I suppose you will likely have to pay your way in. I assume you still have something as far as currency is concerned. You Lord Blackwild is, well, he kind of just trails off, but kind of implies you have money now, right?
I'll figure something out.
And he nods and says, that's probably for the best. After all, I had to go into a bit of debt myself.
I'm just hoping maybe I'll have some answers. Maybe find out who he was.
Maybe. You still have that dagger with you?
She nods.
Good. You might need it. As much as everyone likes to say that Fenrigu is a place of peace and prosperity, a lone Togwell wandering about still might be in danger. But at least you won't be alone.
He knows what No Name said, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
After all, I don't have anything else better to do. So when we get back, I can make sure that you don't get yourself in trouble. After all, you don't even know where you're going.
No, I don't.
And what's up?
I haven't been to the valley in a very long time.
It hasn't been quite as long for me, but we'll see how things have changed when we get there. I suppose you have time. It'll probably be about a month and a half to 2 months before the merchant arrives. I suggest you get everything in line and, well, you know. Maybe we can learn ourselves something. And at that point, a dock worker comes back, and Mr. Sarah, was it? And he turns and is like, I suppose that's me, yes. And he here, this letter appears to be addressed to you. I'm not really sure why it came to our office. Oh, and he takes it and he takes it and he reads it quickly and he scowls for a second. He's like, Is this some kind of joke? What, does that bastard think he's funny?
What is it?
I guess I'm not really sure. According to this, the moneylender that I borrowed money from, so that I could actually afford this journey, just told me not to worry about it, for lack of a better way of saying it. He said that the journey is on us, and also that you're. He looks around for a second, like looking for something. How did they know that you would? And Rinzu, as you look at him, as he looks around rather confused, you hear a caw, and a single magpie feather is dropped from a nearby crow, regular crow that flies overhead, and the feather floats down and lands on the ground in front of you. I'm not sure if this is some kind of joke, Sue. But it says something about favors?
Just gonna pick up the feather.
He shakes his head. Legala is a strange place.
She's like looking at the feather, and he's actually keeping his part of the bargain, it seems.
He just looks at you confused. Do you know this guy?
She nods.
Well, I guess that takes care of that problem then. Whatever. I hope this doesn't bite us in the ass. I'll let you know when I hear anything more about the merchant vessel. But thanks. It'll be good to have someone familiar on the ride. I'm not good with new people. He says with a shrug.
Also, I don't think you'll have to worry about it biting you.
I have a history of being paranoid, so I might have to wait before I believe you on that one.
You're not the one that owes favors.
He sighs. Let's just hope you didn't bite off more than you can chew. Also, is short stuff a name that you go by willingly? Or is that something that he's included on his own? And we're going to end the interaction right there.
Asshole.
With Winter getting really angry.
That fucking asshole.
Only always.
And I thought I was out 10 favors. Damn it.
By the way,
You don't have to accept that, right? Like,
and by the way, the letter says that this is actually free of charge. He's not recharging you those 10 favors. The other ones, you still totally have that.
The other
But this
9.
This is a thanks for helping him consolidate power.
Oh. Yay.
Functionally, he's repaying a favor that he owed you, as far as he's concerned.
Well, shit. That's
See?
nice of
It's
him.
good to have friends. It's good to have friends.
Good to be friends with, like, king of crime. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So we have. I know that Delphi want to talk to the other Haven trees. We had Connor and Davian talking about the paladins. We also have Malcolm and Alstro, and there's also the prisoners. What
I'm
would
gonna
we
bring
like to do
Connor
next?
to the Malcolm one.
Okay. Do we want to do that next?
If you wanna.
Yeah, we could do that next.
Hey Connor, you wanna try and dispel an international incident?
oh boy, do I.
And
That'll be
who are
fine.
you? And who are you going with as far as this is
So
concerned?
at this time, what's it looking like? The people that are going to take over, like the government.
That's like the Legalan government.
Yeah.
That's up to you guys. I guess we can ask that now. As time kind of begins to move forward, what are you guys like trying to do?
Can I vote for George Shieldheart?
Well, he would likely be a part of it.
That just like kind of the people that forefronted the resistance movement would probably be a good kind of group to kind of talk about where to move forward from here. So like Etney, George,
Mhm.
Connor, myself.
'Cause-
I actually would like to include not just military people who push forward with the resistance, but like big money
Civilians?
lenders and all those fun people too.
Yeah,
Yeah, so like a bunch of like non-name people
definitely.
and
Yeah.
like so kind of everybody that kind of wanted to put their foot forward in helping. Like we could probably put out a post saying like, hey, we want people to like help build this new system of government.
hmm
And so, but like as the time being, like kind of also Erin, we're gonna steal Erin for a while until she can go off and do other non-government related things and not be forced into government. But she's really good at what she does, so like we need her right now.
As far as like between like talks that have probably been happening, synthesizing the ideas that you guys have kind of brought out plus others, what a lot of them have come, and also kind of what I've kind of digested from the suggestions that I've heard from you guys. What if there was basically a kind of a? It seems to me like the direction that Legal is going to be going in is more of a republic. Yeah. Sort of something that has representation on multiple different levels.
Sounds about right.
And so, like, functionally, what I'm seeing as a possibility, and of course, none of this is set in stone unless you all like move forward with this idea without contesting it. What I kind of see happening is that we're going to pretty much have representatives from the 3 different kinds of Legalan citizens. And so we're going to have mage representatives from various cities and states and areas. We're going to have non-mage representatives from various cities, states, and areas. And then we're going to have Togwo and Lagu's representatives from various cities, states, and areas. So that effectively there's representation from across the nation, and also from across the different people who, up until this point, were kept differently. So were kept in like different tiers of living, so that everyone can kind of have representation. Obviously, that does provide a large pool of people, which also means that there will be plenty of heated discussions and discrepancies that thus happens where a lot of people have a voice. Does that sound about right as far as you guys were considering?
What do you think, Brent?
I mean, it's basically along the route I was going.
Yeah, that's kind of because I'm basically mentioned in the past about like ideas. That definitely seems like the direction that you guys were going in.
So we're now the Republic of Legala.
Yeah, they're basically kind of trying to establish the Legala as a republic, and so along this line, I imagine that eventually the process would include the separation of Legala into like sort of states, and with each of those states having a selected government that kind of is able to, or having like selected representatives for like a senate that is able to represent each echelon from each zone, kind of based off of population and based off of representation. So that's kind of the direction that I would kind of be seeing that as. And
well, we could probably like do 4 states. We can also like talk about this later because
yeah, exactly. This is all obviously just like the basics. And so, are you in? So Anna, are you basically like trying to move to pretty much put Shieldheart as effectively like the head of the Senate, the Speaker of the Senate, if you will?
yes, if he's okay with that.
Which once he recovers, he probably will, because he's not going to be he's not a general anymore. Like he can't really do much fighting, and he will be retiring from the military upon his recovery. He's already will have been discussing that. So
because A, people really like him, and B, he also can't fight anymore.
yeah, he can't fight in normal battles, so he has to fight in a very different battlefield.
I did always say Annie would be good at politics. So like,
yeah, she's probably going to be a part of it.
But yeah, does that sound okay with you, Brent?
Yeah,
we can go into particulars later, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, pretty much anybody who wants to be anybody who decides that they want to go into politics can do so. I already know a lot of the NPCs that will be in the future, so.
Now you don't need to be a mage to go into politics.
It's true. In fact, you can specifically be in it. But yeah, so who are you bringing to this meeting with Malcolm Ross?
Oh yeah, Lion and Ermine too.
Okay.
To the meeting.
That's fair. They did spend time there.
Like they've met him before. Also, probably going to ask them for advice in dealing with him.
He is a very prideful man, and he has a very high opinion of himself, but he also does care about his people. So keep that in mind. But the beautiful thing is that because you guys are kind of integral into the process of rebuilding, you guys absolutely have the authority to do whatever it is you guys are doing. And if there was a strong dispute about it, then, well, you can dispute that later. But ultimately, whatever ideas you guys put forth will be very strongly considered, and especially in this kind of point where the government is still very nascent, we'll be in a good spot to kind of set that stuff up.
Yeah. So yeah, let's get this meeting, and also bringing Aaron too.
Fair enough.
Would bring George, but he's kind of like left.
Yeah, unless you had the meeting like in wherever he's staying, which you could.
Okay.
And so you guys meet in a have it aligned that you guys meet on in a semi-neutral government building somewhere on the northern edge of the lower city, which will eventually be renamed, probably just the regular city and then something. But either way, so you guys wait for a brief moment, and after a little bit of time, Malcolm Ross enters, and unexpectedly, Richard is actually with him as he enters.
That's not unexpected at all.
I guess it probably
Yeah,
wouldn't
no,
be.
that's not surprising. Surprising neither Alstro nor Connor.
Top of the morning to you. It's a pleasure to finally meet you, Connor and Alstro. I've heard so much about the two of you.
Yes, it's been
Sure. I straight.
Richard just smirks and probably takes.
It's unfortunate we haven't been able to meet you up until this point.
Well, you know, rebuilding your nation isn't exactly an easy thing to do. So I give the slight, he says with a grin, and he offers a hand.
I take his
And
hand.
Richard will, of course, offer to shake your hands as well. It's good to see the two of you again, he says.
Well, glad to see everybody here is in one piece.
And he nods. He says, "Aye, though I suppose if your general was here, we couldn't say the same, could we?" And he smiles. How is the old Shieldheart bastard doing?
Look over to Connor.
Good, I assume, eh?
I'm doing well.
That's good.
As I realize I'm still on push to talk.
Whoops. And he nods and he says, "Right then, I suppose we should get right down to business, eh?"
Yes. First of all,
As-
I would.
Sorry, yeah.
Oh.
Go ahead.
First of all, I would like to apologize. It was by my hand that Arcanon rests in its current location. I know that talking about the demilitarized zone was something that we were going to address following the war, but given that things have gotten a bit more complicated. And so I take personal responsibility for that.
And he smiles and he waves you off and he says, I imagine as fair folk as we all are, I don't think it'll be quite a problem by the end of this conversation, aye?"
She shakes her head. That said,
That is the hope.
That said, Connor and I have an idea, unless you had ones to bring forth.
Well, I assume you don't exactly know how to move the damned thing back off of the area, yeah?
Not within this century.
She shakes her head. Perhaps far off in the future I can move it, but the goddesses operated in a different timescale than the rest of us.
Yes, I suppose they woulda, wouldn't they? I suppose that is where we find a bit of a problem. After all, you know that is a part of our condition for helping. That in addition to the foundational support that we'd send your way to help you rebuild in the aftermath of all of this, I assume I don't need to be the one to remind everyone that my good friend Richard Denouement here did promise to cede the demilitarized zone to Talam. Given the fact that you parked your fancy city in the middle of it, I reckon you can see why that might cause a couple of things that need to be sorted out.
She nods. Well, Connor, should you bring forth the idea, or should I?
Go for it.
Well, I suppose what I would bring forward is a similar deal, but with a bit of tweaking. Offering up most of the demilitarized zone, aside from a portion around Arcanon. All of the territory not around Arcanon. What's a good mile marker to put? Like, probably another, 100 miles around where Arcanon sits now.
Well, it's about 10 miles away from the lower city,
Yeah.
and it's about 10 miles wide itself. So maybe 10, 15 miles. That still is a large portion of the DMZ would be ceded to them.
Yeah. Whereas 20 miles around is fair.
Yeah.
I think. Plus, it's going to be this little portion of land that sticks up on the border.
Pretty much, yeah.
Yeah. We could also look for natural landmarks to divide the land too.
Yeah.
Which is not a bad idea.
Which you'd probably be able to find something.
Yeah. So yeah, kind of more or less describe that in technical and official terms. So as it stands, Talam would take most of the land, except for the portion that would be around Arcanon. Ultimately, Talam has the most to gain, where Arcanon would still be in the hands of Legala, and I would be allowed to potentially work on we entirely safe and any put there in the future.
I suppose that's where I'm a bit concerned myself. After all, knowing that the blasted thing can be lifted up and flying, knowing that it also might not be safe is another thing entirely. After all, if the thing can fly through the air, what's going to stop it from starting to rain on great balls of fire from the sky in a generation or two? I've got the future about you.
Well, I'll be seeing to the fact that it doesn't, personally.
And I suppose that I should just be expected to take your word for it.
She kind of strokes her chin. What do you propose, then?
Well, I personally propose that as far as the agreement between Richard and myself is that the demilitarized zone would be completely under Talamite control. Now, given the fact that that nice little fortress that you've decided to park down in the middle of it ain't exactly a safe place, I wouldn't be touching the thing, and I suppose we could even reach an agreement to have representatives from Legala there, perhaps even yourself, to figure out what how the thing ticks and maybe try and get the thing lifted off. But as far as I'm concerned, our agreement still stands. The demilitarized zone, by all rights, if the agreement is to stand, should be completely under Talam's control. Richard clears his throat. Though, if we're being entirely honest, Standard Bearer, I did make that promise, but that promise was made by Richard Dunaid, advisor to the Emperor of Legala, and Captain of the Royal Guard. That position actually doesn't exist anymore. And you've already elevated me to the rank of Baron, yes? And he looks back at Richard. What are you trying to pull, lad? And Richard shrugs. I'm not trying to
pull. The country you made that agreement with doesn't exist.
And Richard meets your eyes for a second, Connor, and as he shrugs, there's a glint in his eyes. And Malcolm looks back at you guys for a second, and he looks really pissed. And then he bursts out laughing. Oh, I ken you got me there. You're a right bastard, you know that, Denouement. So I've been told. And he takes another swig from his flask. Well, you can right fuck off then. And he looks back to you guys and... Well, I suppose you've got me by the balls then, don't you?
So it might seem.
You still stand to gain more by the agreement we put forth.
Aye, and that's why I ain't a fool. All right, I see when I've been beat. Even if it was by some backstabbing fuckery, he says, looking back at Richard with like an irritated but not completely like pissed off look. All right, you got a deal then, under one condition.
And what is that?
The loss of land is going to take a small bit of monetary compensation from the support that will be given you. We'll still offer supplies and strong Ptolemite arms to help rebuild your cities and such for the time being, as I had agreed with my treacherous bastard of a baron behind me.
He's your problem now.
Aye, so it seems.
Also, Connor, you had another proposition.
I did. I thought we might not mention it since the deal went so well.
Okay, retcon that if, like, you'd mentioned that you didn't want to discuss it. I didn't know if
Oh
that
no,
was
I'm not
something-
giving them extra bonus things.
You're not going to sweeten the pot at all?
No, there's no
Okay.
reason to sweeten the pot.
Fair enough.
Then I suppose that we've got a deal for ourselves for the time being.
And I suppose that Talam and Legala are finally moving forward towards peace.
Aye.
We've been at peace for... How
There
long has the law been around?
When there's a demilitarized zone, there isn't exactly peace, Connor.
It's an
tenuous.
uneasy peace, but it's still peace.
It's actual peace as opposed to tenuous peace.
I don't reckon that I don't rightly know if it will become completely untenuous before we're all dead in this room, but we'll see about that.
Steps in the right direction.
I suppose you're right, lass.
Thank you for speaking with us, Sir Ross.
Oh, not a bloody night, lass. Malcolm's fine. Or standard bearer if you're feeling real formal about it.
Fair enough.
And he'll offer a handshake.
I'm gonna shake his hand.
No,
We
I'll
did
shake
it.
his hand.
And Aaron shaking his hand says, Thank you for your patience and wisdom, Malcolm Ross. It's much appreciated. I know some other standard bearers in history likely would have scoffed at the very idea of brokering such a peace, but you chose the wise option. Thank you for that, and thank you for all of the help that you gave us. And as you guys kind of set things aside and like get ready to depart, Richard will approach you once more, Connor, and Connor, it looks like this is actually it looks like this is where we part ways for the time being.
I have a feeling we'll still see each other plenty enough.
He nods, and I imagine we will. It was a pleasure to serve under you.
It was a pleasure to have you.
Good luck.
I wish
And
you the same.
And he'll give you a firm handshake. Now, if you'll excuse me, he straightens his jacket. I have a barony to return to, and he smiles as he turns back, and he stops at the door, and he turns back, and he says, "Oh, an Austromeria.
Yes.
Not bad."
Blinks.
And with that, he turns and leaves. And yeah, the Ptolemite assembly departs.
Crisis averted. Good work, Connor.
Well, that went better than it could have been, Aaron says. I'm sure it's not the last dispute that we'll have with Talam, but at least for the time being, we can count on them as allies.
As it stands now, our relationship with Talam is better than Zodia with the Confederacy. And, well...
It's true. Talam came to our aid and when we needed it. The Confederacy was on the brink of war with Zodia.
She nods. Suppose it now just comes to retaining these good relations. But I have hope for us.
That's half the battle, Ermine says. And yeah, with that, you guys are able to disperse and do what you guys are doing next. Of course, informing individuals of clash from some of the people who are elected for office. I mean, there's only so much that you can do.
It's like, what else are we gonna do? Also, Talam technically learns where. It is what it is. We did our best.
Yeah. Okay. So, do we want to do talking about do we want to have a conversation with the Haven Trees, Davian about the Paladin stuff, or does anyone want to visit the President?
I mean, I'm down for whatever.
DT.
So if other people want to go.
If you guys want to do the Connor and Devian conversation first, or any of the prisoner conversations, and save the Haven Tree the next thing, or the thing after that, that would be fine, because I'm going to finish packing.
Okay, yeah, we'll see where we can get. So yeah, we can do that. That's no problem. Might end up being like after you think about it for after a while anyways, that works.
Yeah, it'll be nice because I can kind of move around and pack while I'm still listening, and I'll be finished packing by the time that the conversation comes up, because I'm almost done.
All right.
Thanks.
So yeah, we can do Connor and Davian.
All right.
Okay.
And so probably sometime after Davian has had some time to grieve after everything, you're able to find him without too much trouble.
Davian.
Ah, Connor. To what do I owe the pleasure?
I think it's it's time we start working on the reconstruction project.
I agree.
Connor, by the way, looks incredibly tired. Like he's probably only sleeping an hour and a half every day for some reason.
Oh, he's not the only one.
I think nobody's gonna notice immediately because everybody's fucking exhausted.
I know, it's great. I'm gonna get away with this for so long.
It did it. Well, let's get to work.
Is there anyone in particular you would want in on this talk?
Well, there's what's left of the brigade. There's Vic and her crew. We could also offer this to the former members of the Paladins, or what's left of them.
How many of them are left, actually?
It's a fraction of what remained.
Mhm.
Probably about maybe 20% of them, so roughly 24.
Do we want to actually talk to them after?
Probably after. But I do want to send this offer to my brigade.
Of course. I'm sure the brigade will be very hard to hunt down.
Oh no, they're probably at the bar. As usual.